Usually when we talk about the Holy Trinity, we talk about a doctrine of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit as one. And when we talk about this, usually it's very confusing or even unintelligible. St. Patrick used the image of a shamrock. 3 leaves, but 1 leaf, really. It's nice and a simple way to look at the Trinity. St. Augustine talks about love, the lover, and the beloved. What? What are you talking about, Augustine? Believe me, it's hard to understand. But the Trinity is not really a doctrine, but a celebration. A celebration, first of all, of verbs. Let me talk about that. In the first reading, there are a few powerful words that are given. That the power of God is poured forth, is poured out. And so many of us have received that power of God that has been poured out upon us. First of all, at our baptism many years ago, in that sacrament, God poured out His love, His care, His grace for all of us. Those gifts of God are not just relegated to the first moments of our lives, however. Those gifts of baptism continue to be poured out upon us. The Holy Spirit continues to touch our hearts and our minds so that we can understand what God has in store for us. So brought forth, poured forth, means that the Spirit is moving us forward. We're not just stuck in one place. It's not static, but dynamic. And so the Spirit calls us to be on the move constantly because we are brought forth, we are poured forth by God. In the second reading, there's another word, justified, that we are justified. That is, God has come into our lives and says, even though you may not be perfect people, even though we may sin sometimes, even though we may offend God and other people, still we exist in a relationship with God that can never be broken. That God is always with us, always giving us what we need in order to live and survive. And it tells us that God is not some distant person far away, but someone right here who is saying, yes, I know you, from the top of your head to the tip of your toes. And even though you may not be perfect, still nonetheless you are my beloved son and daughter. Therefore, I'm calling you to live rightly, to live well in this world. And we have sinned and wandered away, and yet God still reaches a hand out to us because He loves and cares for us. He always calls us back to Him. And so by being justified, that means we are forgiven. We are given new life and new hope in our God, and He gives us hope for a new relationship with Him and also with one another. In the Gospel it says, the Spirit of truth will guide us. Another important verb, that is the Trinity, that He will guide us to all truth. We may go through life and not understand everything that is going on. I know I don't. But still, God will guide us. And even though we may not be quite sure exactly where we're going, even though we might not understand the path our life is taking, still, nonetheless, God is there to guide us, to push us along the way, to keep us on the right path. It's so easy to get lost in this world and to take the wrong path with all of its attractions and temptations. But God's gentle hand guides us and protects us each and every day. Another verb is to speak in the Gospel. The temptation is, I live for only myself. But when God speaks to me and speaks to all of us, it tells us that God has a plan for us, that God cares about us, that God is going to form a relationship with us and we with Him. And so speaking that word into our lives is important. It's crucial. It's life-giving. And it allows us to be the people that the Lord calls us to be. And then finally, at the end of the Gospel, another word that's extremely important. He will glorify me. We are glorified because the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit lives in us. Once again, as I mentioned before, it started on the day of our baptism and continues on. God continues to glorify us, continues to put His Spirit into us so that we might live. And so the glory of the Lord is part of our lives, and so we can always be confident in it. I'd like to change gears just for a little bit. I know I was talking about the verbs, but I tell you, as I was looking at this gospel and this feast day, a song kept coming into my head. I won't sing it for you. And some of you may or may not know it. It's called Love Reign Over Me by The Who. How many people know that song? Oh boy, only a few. For the younger folks, you could probably learn this in history class, maybe, I don't know. But it's a great song. Go home and listen to it. Love reign over me, and there's a play on words. It's R-E-I-G-N, but also they use it as R-A-I-N as well, over me. And part of the song says, we're on a dry and dusty road. We're apart and alone, but I need to get back home to cool, cool rain. And so that rain comes to us, R-A-I-N and R-E-I-G-N. Because God reigns upon us, gives us the sustenance that we need each day, and also is our King and reigns over us as well. So at this Mass, God, we have an invitation for God's love to reign over us. And so we pray that the Lord will guide us, will speak to us, will glorify us with the Spirit that fills us each day. And as we celebrate this feast of the Holy Trinity, we truly pray, love, reign over me, so that I can show the Trinity in my life, and we can show the Trinity to everyone, because ultimately that Trinity means the love of God with us each and every day.
Let us now please stand.